On December 10th, 1860, President-elect Abraham Lincoln wrote a letter to Lyman Trumbull, a U.S. Senator from Illinois. The nation was in the midst of a grave and unprecedented secession crisis, and Lincoln was not set to take office until March. In the interim, he feared that Republicans in Congress might make certain concessions to Southerners in order to avoid disunion. Namely, he was concerned they might make compromises on the issue of free soil in the territories. Now, this was the issue on which Lincoln felt he had been elected, and it was the fundamental plank in the Republican Party's platform. So he was absolutely determined that no compromise on this issue be made. Without this firm principle, he later said, the Republican Party would be a mere sucked egg, all shell and no principle. So while he was at home in Springfield, he took pen in hand and wrote several letters, private letters, to key allies in Washington in order to strengthen their resolve. And this letter to Trumbull is one of them. He says, "My dear sir, let there be no compromise on the question of extending slavery. If there be, all our labor is lost, and ere long must be done again." So he's certainly talking about the fact that this issue is not going to go away, and they can postpone it, but it will come to a head once again. "The dangerous ground, that into which some of our friends have a hankering to run, is popular sovereignty. Have none of it. Stand firm. The tug has to come, and better now than any time hereafter." Now, the dangerous ground that Lincoln is referring to is most likely several proposals that were being considered in Washington at the time, namely one by Thurlow Weed, which proposed reinstating the Missouri Compromise line and perhaps extending it to California. Not long after, John Crittenden will make that proposal a part of his proposed amendments. So Lincoln knew that he needed to shore up the Republicans in Washington and really help them maintain their resolve. But if he spoke publicly on this issue, again, he's not yet president. To speak publicly on this issue now, he would run the risk of causing a rift within the Republican Party before he's even taken office. And so this is why he chose to write a series of private letters to Trumbull, to William Kellogg, Elihu Washburn, and several others. He even wrote a letter to North Carolina Congressman John Gilmer in response to a letter Gilmer wrote him, but reaffirming this same idea that he emphasized in the letters to the Republicans, saying to Gilmer, "On the territorial question, I am inflexible." So I think the importance of this letter to Trumbull is twofold. First, this letter did have the impact of strengthening the resolve of the Republicans in Congress, and the Weed and Crittenden proposals were voted down. Second, it demonstrates a remarkable firmness and consistency that Lincoln displayed during this secession crisis. Faced with the prospect of secession, of war, weaker men might have waffled, might have compromised, but Lincoln showed here that he was not going to be intimidated by those prospects into relinquishing his principles. I think it also gives us a window into the kind of leader that he's going to become. He showed an unprecedented willingness to intervene in congressional debates by writing these letters, something no president had really ever done before. He demonstrated that as the new head of the party, he expected loyalty and obedience from fellow Republicans. So he took the lead, and he never let it go.